to module number 10. This is also found in chapter 15 for corporate liquidation. First, we have to state our objectives. Number one, describe the accounting for corporate liquidation. And number two, prepare a statement of affairs. Now, first, we have to involve the meaning of liquidation. Liquidation is the termination of business operations or the winding up of affairs. It is the process by which the assets of the business are converted into cash, the liabilities are settled, and any remaining amount is distributed to the owners. Entities undergoing liquidation measure their assets and liabilities in the statement of affairs at realizable value. Liquidating entities usually prepare the following classes of financial reports. Letter A, statement of affairs, and B, statement of realization and liquidation. Additional statements such as note disclosures and summary of cash receipts and disbursements may also be prepared. The statement of affairs is the initial report prepared at the start of the liquidating process. It shows the financial position of the liquidating entity, the assets that are available for sale, the claims of creditors to be settled, and the claims of the owners. Assets in the statement of affairs are classified into the following. 1. Assets pledged to fully secured creditors. 2. Assets pledged to partially secured creditors. And 3. Free assets. Liabilities in the statement of affairs are classified into the following. Unsecured liabilities with priority, fully secured creditors, partially secured creditors, and unsecured liabilities without priority. So we have these classifications as found in our liabilities. Next, assets pledged to fully secured creditors. Assets with realizable values equal to or greater than the realizable values of the related liabilities for which these assets have been pledged as security. In other words, you may have creditors with whom you have pledged specific assets. So meaning these creditors are fully secured and the realizable values equal to or greater than the realizable values of the related liabilities. Second, assets pledged to partially secured creditors. Assets with realizable value less than the realizable values of the related liabilities for which these assets have been pledged as security. Free assets are those that have not been pledged as security of liabilities. These also include the excess of realizable values of assets pledged to fully secured creditors over the realizable values of related liabilities for which these assets have been pledged. Then we have the unsecured liabilities with priority. Liabilities that, although not secured by any assets, are mandated by law to be paid first before any unsecured liabilities, such as administrative expenses, unpaid employee salaries, and other benefits, and taxes and assessment. Fully secured creditors are those whose liabilities are secured by assets with realizable value equal to or greater than the realizable value of such liabilities. So we have now the unsecured liabilities with priority. With here we have the fully secured creditors. Then we have the partially secured creditors, liabilities secured by assets with realizable value less than the realizable value of such liabilities. Then we have the unsecured liabilities without priority, all other liabilities that remain. The estimated deficiency to unsecured creditors without priority can be computed using this formula. The estimated deficiency is equal to assets at realizable value less liabilities at realizable value. The estimated recovery percentage of unsecured creditors without priority can be computed using the following formula. Estimated recovery percentage of unsecured creditors without priority is equal to net free assets divided by the total unsecured liabilities without priority. Now take note of the formula. The net free assets can be computed as follows. Total assets at realizable values, we deduct the unsecured creditors with priority and fully secured creditors, and realizable value of assets pledged to partially secured creditors. So we now have the net free assets. So in other words, from the total assets at realizable values, we have to deduct the unsecured creditors with priority. And we have to deduct the fully secured creditors and the realizable value of assets pledged to partially secured creditors, giving us the net free assets. Now, these are very, very important formula that you have to remember, especially in the preparation of the statements. The total unsecured liabilities without priority can be computed as follows. The unsecured creditor without priority plus deficiency of assets pledged to partially secured creditors, partially secured liability less realizable value of assets pledged to partially secured creditors. Now we have the total unsecured liabilities without priority. The estimated recovery of partially secured creditors is equal to the realizable value of the assets pledged plus the excess amount multiplied by the estimated recovery percentage. The estimated recovery of unsecured creditors without priority is equal to the claims multiplied by the estimated recovery percentage. The statement of realization and liquidation is a periodic report normally prepared by a receiver, which shows information on the progress of the liquidation process. It is depicted like in the following T account. So we have now the debits includes assets to be realized excluding cash, assets acquired, Then we have liabilities liquidated and not liquidated. And we have the supplementary expenses. On the credit side, we have the assets realized and not realized, liabilities to be liquidated, and liabilities assumed. Then we have the supplementary income. Assets to be realized, excluding cash, represents the total non-cash assets available for disposal as of the beginning of the period. This is measured at book value. Assets acquired represents previously unrecorded assets that were recognized during the period. Assets realized represents the actual net proceeds received from the sale of non-cash assets during the period. Assets not realized represents the total cash available for disposal at the end of the period. This is measured at book value. Liabilities to be liquidated represents the total liabilities to be settled at the beginning of the period, and this is measured at book value. Liabilities assumed represents previously unrecorded liabilities that were recognized during the period. And supplementary expenses or income, items of income and expenses are realized or incurred during the period. So for supplementary uh, accounts, income, credits, or income and expenses, there is a net gain. Total credits, if total credits exceeds the total debits. So in the T account, there is a net loss if the total debits exceeds the total credits. Reorganization. In its broadest sense, it means the implementation of a business plan to restructure or rehabilitate a corporation with the hopes of increasing company value in most cases. Reorganization involves changing the entity's capital structure. Okay, next we have the following are some of the types of corporate reorganization. Group recapitalization, quasi and corporate rehabilitation, and troubled debt restructuring. Okay, now we will continue with chapter 15, where we have the solutions to the problems. So I will take up the solutions to the problems, including problem 1, 2, 3, 5, 9, and 10. And the multiple choice problems, only 1 to 14. There are fewer multiple choice problems in this chapter. Now, in problem number 1, the requirement here is prepare a statement of affairs as of May 31, 20x4, including a deficiency account, and to determine the estimated dividend rate at the general or to the general unsecured creditors. Now, minor company is being forced into bankruptcy. The company's creditors and stockholders have requested an estimate of the result of a liquidation of the company. Minor's trial balance follows. So in the trial balance, we have the accounts, then the debits and the credits for cash, accounts receivable, credit to allowance for bad debts. Then we have notes receivable, accrued interest, or notes receivable, followed by inventory, buildings, accumulated depreciation of buildings, equipment, accumulated depreciation of equipment, followed by prepaid insurance, goodwill, accrued wages with priority, taxes payable with priority, notes payable, accrued interest payable, common stock, retained earnings, deficit because it's a debit. The assets are expected to bring cash on conversion in the following amounts. Accounts receivable for 50,000, notes receivable including 1,000 accrued interest, inventory for 30,000, and the building equipment and prepaid insurance. Now, these are your projected or expected cash on conversion. The notes receivable are pledged as security on a note payable of 140,000. So we have a note payable of 20,000 is secured by a lien on the building and the equipment is pledged as a security on a note payable of 10,000. So we have various accounts affecting notes payable. One half of the interest payable relates to the 40,000 notes payable. The other half of the interest payable relate to the 20,000 note payable. There is no accrued interest on the other notes payable. So we have the statement of affairs. On the left side, we have the book value. And then on the credit or right side, we have the realizable value. First, we begin with assets pledged with fully secured creditors. So we have now the notes receivable with a book value that's equal to 50,000. And the notes receivable of 39,800 and the accrued interest receivable stated to be 1,000. That gives 40,800. Okay? So that's the notes receivable. As given above, we have 50,000 and there is an accrued interest on notes receivable. So we have to include that under the book value. Whereas the notes receivable, including 1,000 accrued interest, will be realized at 40,800. So minus the accrued interest receivable of 1,000, it's only 39,800. Next, we go to notes payable. The notes payable is with varied amounts included. The notes payable here is 40,000 and the accrued interest payable equal to 800. So we have now the notes payable for 20,000. But first of all, we have the notes receivable are pledged as security on a note payable for 40,000. And so we have now our notes payable 40,000. There is a corresponding pledge with fully secured creditors. The notes payable of 40,000, then we add the accrued interest payable. Given is the accrued interest payable in the amount of 800. on the notes payable, we have now to get the total of 40,800. That is with regards to the realizable value. Now above, we have the notes receivable plus the accrued interest receivable. And down, we have the notes payable and the accrued interest payable for 40,800, including the accrued interest. So you now have your accrued interest payable. Next, we have 40,800 for the accrued interest receivable and the notes receivable. 40,800 used as pledge with fully secured creditors. So we have now for the notes payable 40,000 and we get the accrued interest payable. So the total is 40,800. Next, in connection with the building has a face value as stated equal to 75,000. Now, that's the building. Then the notes payable of 20,000 is required by Alien on the building and the equipment pledge as security on a note payable of 10,000. So we have now the notes payable equal to 20,000 and we have the accrued interest in the amount of 800. Notes payable is with a total of 20,800 and the building was used to settle the note or as collateral stated. The building with a book value equal to 75,000. Okay, 75,000 expected to be realized. So we have to deduct the notes payable equal to 20,000 and interest equivalent to 800. So 2,800. The total realizable value is 54,200. Okay, we go to the assets pledge with partially secured creditors. The equipment is stated with a value that's equal to 14,600. That's the equipment. And the accumulated depreciation is 1,400. So we have 14,600 minus 1,004, 13,000 remains. And that's now for your building. Building actually is 75,000 and the note that secured the building. I mean the building was used to secure the notes payable. So you get the difference. Whereas for equipment, it's only partially secured. So the equipment 4,200 and we have the notes payable of 10,000. However, the book value of the equipment is equal to 13,200. That's the difference between 14,600 and 1,400. So we have 14,600 minus 1,400. So you have now your book value equal to 13,200 for the equipment. So for the equipment, we have 4,200 and the notes payable amounting to 10,000. Now we go to the free assets. Free assets includes cash in the amount of 6,000, accounts receivable for 50,000, inventory is 30,000. So we now get the inventory amount 30, prepaid insurance is 400, and finally we have goodwill equal to 0. The total net realizable value is 140,600. The liabilities having priority for wages payable, that's equal to 6,000. And we have the total of 8,400. That's the total including your wages. So for wages, that's equal to 2,400. And we have the liabilities having priority for the wages equal to 8,400. And so for the difference of 140,600 minus to 8,400, that leaves only 132,200. That's for the net free assets. 132,200, the net free assets. Take note that we have the asset side of our statement of affairs. So the net free assets, 132,200. The estimated efficiency to unsecured creditors of 53,600. That's the estimated deficiency to unsecured creditors for the balancing figure. So we now get the total equal to 185,800. Now for the equities, we have the book value of the liabilities, accrued wages and taxes payable. We have the total of 8,400. They are the liabilities with priorities. Then the fully secured creditors, the notes payable in the amount of 60,000. We have the book value of 60,000, and then the accrued interest payable equal to 1,600. So total of 61,600. The partially secured creditors given is the amount of notes payable amounting to 10,000. So notes payable 10,000 and secured by the equipment in the amount of 4,200. In other words, there's still an unsecured amount of 5,800. The unsecured creditors accounts payable given is 170,000. Notes payable for the difference of 10,000. And so the stockholders' equity, the common stock of 110,000, we deduct the retained earnings deficit. So we have now the total of 185,800 equal to your total assets. Now we go to number 2. We have the deficiency statement estimated, but we are asked in number 2 to determine the estimated dividend rate to the general unsecured creditors. So first we have the a deficiency statement to determine the estimated deficiency to unsecured creditors. So we have now the estimated losses on accounts receivable that's equal to 11,000 because only 50,000 will be collected. So the net realizable value of the accounts receivable is 63,000 minus 2,000. So it's only 61,000 and realized is only 50,000. So we have the estimated loss on accounts receivable equal to 11,000. Next, on the notes receivable, we have the amount of 10,400. The notes receivable, the total of 51,200, and we have 40,800 to be realized. So we have now 51,200 minus 40,800. There's a difference equal to 10,400. That's the loss on the notes receivable. Now, our inventory is carried at 60,000. You can only receive 30,000 upon conversion. The buildings, building, the cost is 182,000 minus the accumulated depreciation of 63. So you have the difference of 119. 119 and you can get only 75,000. So the estimated loss on the building is equal to 44,000. Next, on the equipment. Now, the equipment's book value is 14,600 minus 1,400. So there's a difference of 13,200. And the equipment will realize 4,200. So we have the estimated loss of 9,000. The prepaid insurance is 1,100. You will realize 400. So the remainder of 700. Goodwill is a debit of 8,500. Naturally, if you will liquidate the business, the amount of the goodwill will also be eliminated and charged to loss. For the estimated gains, we have for the common stock. The common stock is 110,000 retained earnings, deficit negative 50,000. So we have to add the estimated deficiency to unsecured creditors of 53,600. So you now get the total. So actually you have this amount that will balance the equation. The second requirement is how about the estimated final dividend rate to unsecured creditors? So we have now the amount of 132,200 divided by 185,000. So 132,200 divided by 185,800. That's our total, no? So we now get the rate of 71.15%. So for requirement number 2, the estimated dividend rate to the general unsecured creditors. So the general unsecured creditors. So we have the total of the liabilities here of 185,800. That's the total of our liabilities, 185,800. That's the denominator that we are going to use in determining the dividend rate. So we have the unsecured creditors for the total liabilities. Okay, now we go to the next problem. The next problem is problem number 2. for the statements. So problem number 2. The requirement in problem number 2 is number 1, as a statement of affairs, assuming that the note payable in interest are secured by a mortgage on the equipment. Secured. So meaning the notes payable and the interest are secured by a mortgage on the equipment. So for the statement of affairs, we have now the pledge with partially secured creditors. The equipment is given with a value, or we have equipment estimated net realizable value only for 87,000. However, the book value of the equipment is 165,000 minus the accumulated depreciation. Supposed to be your equipment is stated 165. The amount to be recovered is only for 87,000. So in other words, there is a reduction of 78,000. 78,000 is taken by dividing or by deducting 87,000 from 165,000. Now, pledge with partially secured creditors, equipment net is 87,000 less. Notes payable and accrued interest. We have the notes payable and accrued interest of 96,000. So we have the unsecured amount of 9,000. Okay, so 9,000 being the unsecured amount. So here we have the unsecured amount equal to 9,000 for the difference between 96,000 and 87,000. Okay, now we go next to free assets, our cash, accounts receivable, inventories. We have the total net realizable value. Then we have the priority liabilities, wages payable. So the total balance for unsecured creditors and the estimated deficiency to unsecured creditors. So now we will be recording the book values, including cash, accounts receivable, and inventories of a total of 300,000 for the book values. Then we have the free assets, cash, 3,000, accounts receivable net is only at 48,000. That's the given amount. Then inventories will realize only 72,000. So the total net realizable value is 123,000. 123,000. We deduct the priority liabilities, wages payable in the amount of 45,000. So we have 78,000 is the total available for unsecured creditors, and the estimated deficiency to unsecured creditors in the amount of 30,000. Account, the loss, accounts receivable, the loss is 72,000 minus 48,000. And then inventories, 72 minus 16, you have again. Accounts receivable, you have a loss. So we have the net loss here for the purpose of determining only inventories and our accounts receivable. Okay, so we have a negative amount here for the difference of the loss. That's equal to 12,000. Now, for the book values, we have the priority liabilities, wages payable 45,000, assumed under 4,650 per employee for your wages payable of 45,000. Partially secured creditors for notes payable in the amount of 96,000. And we have the equipment as security in the amount of 87,000. So there is a balance of 9,000. For the unsecured creditors, we have the accounts payable and rent payable. So accounts payable of 72,000 and rent of 21,000. Now the rent payable is stated at 21,000. Okay, so we have now your unsecured to be followed by stockholders' equity for capital stock, 180,000, and retained earnings, negative for 120,000. So we have now the estimated deficiency in the amount of 30,000. That's your estimated deficiency. Okay, so take note that your rent is 27. Okay, 27, not 21. Rent payable is 27,000. Now we go to estimated payments per dollar for unsecured creditors. cash available 210,000, then distribution to partially secured and unsecured priority creditors, notes payable and interest 87,000, administrative expense given at 24,000 for the amount of wages 45,000. So available to unsecured non-priority creditors is 454,000. Okay, now we have the administrative expense of 24,000. It's given down, including custody fees are 24,000. So we now get the total 108,000, the unsecured non-priority claims. So dividing 54,000 by 108,000, that's 50 cents per peso. So expected recovery for each class of claims, partially secured, notes payable and interest, secured portion, 87,000, the unsecured portion of 9,000 times 0.50. So it's 4,500, the total of 91,500. Unsecured priority administrative expense, 24,000, and wages payable, 45,000. Unsecured non-priority accounts payable, 36,000, rent payable, 13,500, and the total payments of, by the way, we are multiplying it by 0.50 because in our computation, the recovery rate per receivable, which is not secured, is only 50 cents per peso. So that means that if the accounts payable that remained is 72,000, you'll not get 72,000, but only 36,000. It's only a part, no? Because the liability is unsecured without priority. So these are the answers to the problems that we have, the loan problems 1 and 2. Then we go to 3 and 4. 3 and 4. 3 is a statement of affairs. So the question here is compute the amount that will be paid to each class of creditor. We have the following data taken from the statement of affairs of Motor Sports Company. Assets pledged with fully secured creditors, realizable value of 635,000. So 800,000 is the assets pledged with fully secured creditors. Then those with partially secured creditors, free assets, fully secured creditor claims, partially secured creditor claims, unsecured creditor claims with priority, and general unsecured creditor claims. Now, we are computing now for the amount that will be paid to each class of creditor. So first, we have to begin with the realizable value. I am now dealing with problem number 3. Realizable value of all assets, we have total of 1,275,000. That's the sum of 635,000 plus 300,000 plus 340,000. Now the realizable values. Then allocated to fully secured creditors in the amount of 316,000. The partially secured creditors, here we have the amount of 400 partially secured creditor claims, 400,000. However, we have the unsecured creditor claims with priority of 100,000. So we have to pay to the partially secured creditor claims only 300,000, and the unsecured creditors with priority, we pay 100,000. So the total that we have now is 716,000 deducted from 1,275,000. We have the remainder available to general unsecured creditors of 559,000. Then we have the payment rate for general unsecured creditors, including balance due to partially secured creditors. We have 559,000, the remaining cash. We divide it by 1,165,000, and we have to add 400,000 and deduct 300,000. So we have now the rate of 44.2%. 44.2%. Okay, 1,165,000. That's the general unsecured creditor claims. Okay, the realizable value of assets, the assets pledged to fully secured creditors, 635,000. Those pledged to partially secured creditors, 300,000, and the free assets for 340,000. The total realizable value of 275,000. Amounts to be paid to fully secured creditors, again 316,000. To partially secured creditors, it's only for 344,200 because you'll be paying 300 but for a fraction or for a portion of 100,000, you have to multiply it by the recovery rate of 0.442. So you now get 300,000 plus 44,200. Unsecured creditors with priority is 100,000, and the general unsecured creditors, the recovery rate is only 0.442. So that gives 514,800 for the total realizable value of 1,275,000. In other words, to the partially secured creditors and to the unsecured, you will be giving a proportionate amount. Next, we go to problem 5. Again, we involve a statement of affairs. And here, we are given the following balances: cash, receivables, inventory, land, building, salaries and accounts payable, notes payable, bonds payable, common stock, and retained earnings. The notes payable is secured by land, and the bonds payable is secured by building. How much will be paid to each of the following? So we now begin with the payment for salaries. Salaries payable, the amount to be paid is 10,000. By the way, let's try to check for the free assets. We have cash of 30,000, the receivables 50,000, but only 30% can be collected. So it means 15,000. Then the inventory, only 39,000 can be collected. The land value in excess of secured note, 120,000 minus 110,000. The land is worth 120,000. It secures the notes payable of 110,000. So in other words, the land here, we have an excess of 10,000. The total of 94,000. And then we deduct the liabilities with priority, salary payable. That's for the amount of 10,000. And the free assets available is 84,000. The unsecured liabilities are the following: accounts payable, 90,000. Bonds payable is secured interest in building. Building is 300,000. That's the liability, but the building is only worth 180,000. So meaning the unsecured is 120,000, the total of 210,000. The percentage of unsecured liabilities to be paid is 84,000 over 210,000 or 40%. So the amounts to be paid for salary payable, liability with priority to be paid is the full amount of 10,000. For accounts payable unsecured, we'll collect only 40%, and the accounts payable is 90,000. So you will collect only 36,000. The notes payable is fully secured by land. So the notes payable is 110,000. The land is 120,000. This secures the note payable. So for our notes payable fully secured by land, we'll collect the entire balance of 110,000. In the bonds payable, partially secured, we'll collect 180,000 from building, and the remainder of 120,000, you can recover only 40%. So adding 180,000 plus 40% of 120,000, which is 48,000, you get the total of 228,000. Now we go to problem number 9. Problem number 9 is a statement of realization and liquidation. Prepare a statement of realization and liquidation according to the traditional approach illustrated in the chapter. So we have now 4 statement of realization and liquidation. A trustee has been appointed for Smith Company, which is being liquidated under the bankruptcy law. The following transactions occurred after the assets were transferred to the trustee. 1. Credit sales by the trustee were 100,000. Cost of goods sold 72,000, consisting of all the inventory transferred from Smith. Trustee sold 20,000 worth of marketable securities for 15,000. Receivables collected by the trustee, all 28,000 of the 50,000 transferred. New 65,000. Disbursement by the trustee, old current payables, or 31,000 of the 65,000. Transferred trustee expenses, 6,000. Recorded 24,000 depreciation on the plant assets of 120,000 transferred from Smith. So we have now the statement of realization and liquidation, the assets to be realized. So we have now the old receivables, old of 50,000. Of the old receivables collected is only 28,000. So we have the assets realized on the right side, and we have the book values on the left side. Marketable equity securities now with the old amount of 20,000. The trustee sold 20,000 worth of marketable securities only for 15,000. And for the 72,000 of inventory, we are now given the amount of inventory. Cost of goods sold were 72,000. That's your cost of goods sold. And the depreciable assets of 120,000, and the recorded depreciation of 24,000. So we have now your, on the assets realized, we have the receivables, 28,000, with the new receivables in the amount of 65,000. Realized marketable securities, 15,000. Sales of the inventory in the amount of 100,000. That's in number one. So the assets acquired, new 100,000. That's for the credit sales. And assets not realized, the receivables owed for, we have 50,000 minus 28,000. So 22,000 is not realized. For the new receivables, 100,000 minus 65,000. So not realized is 35,000. And depreciable assets equals 96,000 after deducting 24,000 from 120,000. So we now get the difference of 96,000. Then for the supplementary items, the supplementary charges given old, okay, we have 31,000, and the payables for the supplementary credits net of 7,000. For the liabilities liquidated, old 31,000, and the payables for 65,000. Liabilities not liquidated, the old of 34,000, and we have now the liabilities incurred for the payables, the old current payables. We still have the liabilities to be liquidated of 65,000. So we have the total of 433,000. And the last problem here is problem 10. We are still required for a statement of realization and liquidation for complete the statement of realization and liquidation for May, June, and July of 20X5. So we now have the assets and the liabilities. Anyway, in problem 10, we are given the format, so we have to follow. We start with the beginning balances unsigned on May 1, X5, cash of 4,000 and non-cash 720,000. Then we have the collection of accounts receivable for the amount of accounts receivable here collected during May. We have the accounts receivable net of 80,000. The accounts remaining, the accounts payable are secured by inventories. 3/4 of the accounts receivable were collected. Of the remaining amounts, 10,000 are believed to be uncollectible, and the inventories were sold for 170,000. The land and building were sold for 20,000, and the assumption of the mortgage. The machinery sold for 70,000, and the proceeds were remitted to the bank. Salaries payable and 170,000 of the accounts payable were paid. So we now have collection of accounts receivable that involves cash of 60,000 and non-cash of deduct 70,000. Of the total receivables of 80,000, only 60,000 were collected. And so the remainder of 20,000, 10,000 were believed to be uncollectible. Sale of inventory. For the inventories cost of 200,000, it was sold only for 170,000. Sale of land and building. Land and building is at cost of 340,000. It was sold only for 20,000. The land and building were sold for 20,000. And assumption of the mortgage. We have the mortgage of 240,000. Then we have the sale of machinery with a cost of 100,000, and the machinery were sold for 70,000. So the ending balance of cash 24,000 and non-cash 10,000. For the second form, liabilities, assets fully secured, partially secured with priority, without priority, and owner's equity. So we have now the beginning balances assigned, fully secured of 240,000 and partially secured of 270,000 with priority of 94,000 and the owner's equity of 120,000. Supposed to be the balancing figure is the owner's equity. Now for cash receipts, collection of accounts, owner's equity, we deduct 10,000. That's the remaining account. Sale of inventory for 30,000. The inventory with cost of 200,000 sold only for 170. So there's a loss that will be charged against owner's equity. The land and building fully secured the mortgage. So the land and building, the total of 340,000. We have minus 240,000, but there is proceeds amounting to 20,000. So we have now the 340 minus 240 is 100, but there was a collection of 20,000. So the loss is 80,000. Then for the sale of machinery, machinery has an amount of 100,000, and the machinery was sold for only 70,000. So there's a loss of 30,000. Because payments, salaries payable being a priority liability, then the partial payment of accounts. For accounts partially secured, we are now going to deduct 180,000 and without priority of 10,000. For the partial payment of the bank loan, that's given to be 90,000. For the partial payment of the bank loan, here we have 90,000 and without priority is 20,000. So for the totals, fully secured 0, partially secured is 0, with priority is 34, without priority is 30, and the owner's equity now is positive 120, negative for 150. So we have a debit of 30 in the owner's equity. Okay, then we go to the multiple choice problems. In number 1, the requirement is an accounting statement of affairs for Sun Company shows a dividend of 40%. What corporation can expect to receive payment for its investment in Sun Company of approximately letter D? Since there is parent and subsidiary relationship, any intercompany accounts are eliminated from the consolidated point of view. Number 2, based on the foregoing information, what percentage of their claims should unsecured non-priority creditors expect to receive on the liquidation of Lobo Company? So we are now referring to the unsecured non-priority creditors. So in other words, we have to determine the percentage of claim, or we have the amount that will be collected by the non-priority unsecured creditors. So we have now letter A, or 85%, dividing 76,500 by 90,000. So take note that our numerator is 76,500 and the denominator is 90,000. Okay, now let number 3 is a partially secured liability. So we have letter C, unsecured claim. Number 4, the problem is requiring assume the assets are converted to cash at their estimated current values. What amount of cash will be available to pay unsecured non-priority claims? So we have now in number 4, we have letter D of 1,080,000. 1,110,000 as the current value of the assets pledged with fully secured creditors, and then we deduct the amount of fully secured creditors of 780,000, and we add 960,000. So we have the amount of free assets at current value, and we deduct 210,000 for the liability with priority. So we have now for number 5, the answer is the amount to be realized by Carlson on this note is, so the amount to be realized is equal to 25,000. That's the liquidation value. And then we multiply 0.30 by the difference between 75,000 and 25,000. So you get number 5, letter B as in boy. Number 6, we have the question in number 6. Assume the assets are converted to cash to their estimated current values, what amount of cash will be available to pay unsecured non-priority claims. So in number 6, we have the amount of 555,000. That's the assets pledged with fully secured creditors, 555,000. Then we deduct fully secured creditors, 390,000. And then we have to add 480,000, the free assets. So you get 40 in number 5, or in number 6, we get 540. That's letter B. Number 7, the question is the amount realized by Arrow on this note. So in number 7, we have 30,000, a negative, and then we have to multiply 30.30 by 60,000. That gives 18,000 plus 30,000. So all in all, we have 48,000. Okay, number 8. The answer in number 8 is C. The total amount of payment that Miley should have received is calculated as. So we have the amount of 126,000 for number 8. That's supposed to be number 8. Let's review. 1 million. Yes, number 8. 110,000. That's the amount of the mortgage of land, 150,000, and was sold for 110,000. And then we add the difference between 150 and 110. That's only for 40. And you multiply that by 40%. So the result of 110 plus 40 is equal to 150. No, 110 is the amount realized on the land, and the mortgage is 150,000. Now, what's the total payment that Miley should have received calculated to be? We have now Sparkman Company filed a bankruptcy petition and liquidated its non-cash assets. Sparkman was paying 40 cents on the dollar for unsecured claims. Miley held a mortgage of 150,000. So we have now the amount of 110,000, and then we add 40% multiplied by the amount of 40,000. So we now get the result of 128,000. Number 8, it's letter C. Okay, letter C, multiplying or adding 110,000, and we multiply 40,000 times 40%. So that will be 16,000 plus 110,000. That's 126,000. Now please make correction in number 8. That's 126,000 and not 128. 9. Equipment with a book value of 120,000 is sold in a liquidation process for cash of 110,000. This equipment was a security for 150,000 bank loan. Any remainder is considered unsecured. How would this transaction be reported on the statement of realization and liquidation? A. Reduction in non-cash assets of 120,000. B. A loss reported to the owner's equity of 10,000. That's 120 minus 110. So we have a loss of 10. So A is correct, B is correct. C, a disbursement of cash to the bank of 110,000, a reduction in partially secured liability of 150,000, and an increase in unsecured without priority liability of 40,000. That's 150 minus 110. So you have a difference of 40,000. All of the above would occur. Next, in number 10, the question in number 10, total amount of unsecured claims. So the unsecured claims now, we have 10. Letter C, for the unsecured claims, we have the first amount of 60,000 accounts payable. Then we have 120 plus 6,000. The notes payable secured by receivable and inventory is 120. And the interest on notes payable is 6,000. Then we have to deduct 30,000 and 35,000 for the accounts receivable and the inventory. Now, the question is asking for the amount of unsecured claims. The amount of unsecured claims. So we now have the amount of number 10, letter C. Number 10, letter C. Okay, so we have now your number 11. What estimated amount will be available for general unsecured creditors upon liquidation? So number 11, you have 93,000 adding. The requirement is what amount is available to general unsecured creditors. General unsecured creditors. So first, we have 20 available to general unsecured creditors. Then we have the amount of 80 available to unsecured creditors. Okay. Then we have 170 or 170, and then we deduct 150 and 7. We deduct 150 and 7. That's 113,000, but we deduct 10,000 and 10,000 for the wages and taxes. So we now get 93. And number 12, what is the estimated dividend percentage? That's 93,000 in number 11 divided by number 10. Now, number 13 and 14, we are now computing in number 13 the amount of free assets, net free assets. So we have 700,000 net free assets. So we have the estimated current value for the net free assets, 700,000 minus 300,000. Okay, then we are going to add 70,000 plus 230. That's 700,000 minus 140. So it's only 560,000. The total unsecured creditors without priority, 400,000 minus 300,000. So we have 100,000 plus 600. So number 13 is A. And number 14, the problem is asking what for the total amount of unsecured liabilities with priority. So number 14, it's letter C equal to 165. Now you have the breakdown of 165. Okay, for your assignment, you work on the remaining problems, 15 to 26, and you answer the theories. We are going to discuss this on Tuesday. Okay? So we have now I'm reminding those who will take the special exams tomorrow, we will have it at 10:30. Okay.